Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission here is, well, pretty simple. Cut through all the noise and really pinpoint those key insights that make you genuinely well-informed on some complex topics. Think of it as your shortcut to understanding the why behind the what. Today, we're plunging into the fascinating and, let's be honest, pretty critical world of Salesforce Tableau Server Administration. And this isn't just about technical commands or setups. It's really about understanding the backbone of powerful data analytics, what makes your organization's dashboards truly sing, or, on a bad day, barely hum. Now, for this deep dive, we're cracking open a really useful resource, a set of practice questions for the Salesforce Certified Tableau Server Administrator exam. Think of these not just as test prep, but more like a carefully designed roadmap. They point out exactly what concepts are crucial, where the common slip-ups happen, and what you really need to know to manage Tableau Server effectively in the real world.
That's absolutely right. And while, yes, the source is exam-focused, the concepts we're about to dig into are vital for anyone looking to really get a handle on managing a Tableau environment. Doesn't matter if it's server or online, actually. We're going to go beyond just the answers, understand why these things matter, how they connect, and what the real-world impact is for your whole data setup.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Before we get into the real nitty-gritty specifics, maybe give us a quick overview, like what does the Salesforce Certified Tableau Server Administrator exam actually cover? It gives us a good framework, right?
Absolutely. It's good to see the big picture first. The exam basically breaks down an admin's job into 5 main areas, and the weighting kind of tells you what's most important day to day. So first up, connecting to and preparing data, that's about 20% of the exam.
Okay.
Then there's installation and configuration, a bit bigger at 26%. The largest chunk, and this really highlights its importance, is administration itself, that's 36%.
Right, the day-to-day stuff.
Exactly. Then you've got troubleshooting, which is 12% because things do go wrong. And finally, migration and upgrade, which is smaller at 6%. Together, these really cover the whole life cycle, getting data in securely, setting things up, keeping it running, fixing problems, and evolving the system over time.
One thing that really seems to trip people up, even folks who've been around Tableau for a while, is the difference between Tableau Online and Tableau Server. They're kind of different beasts. So let's kick off there. What about access levels? If you're used to managing a full Tableau server, what's the absolute highest level of access you can get in Tableau Online? Is there even a server administrator role?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's a common point of confusion. For Tableau Online, the highest level you'll find is Site Administrator Creator. And you nailed the key reason why. Tableau Online is software as a service. So Tableau manages the underlying server infrastructure for you. So yeah, there's no server administrator role like on Tableau Server because you're not managing the actual server hardware or operating system. The Site Administrator Creator role gives you full admin rights on your specific site within Tableau Online. That means managing users, groups, content, permissions, all that stuff. Plus, you can create and publish dashboards yourself.
So full control of your space, but not the whole building, basically.
Exactly. You manage your tenants, Tableau manages the building. It's a crucial distinction.
Okay, that makes sense. And it leads right into another point about Tableau Online. If Tableau is handling the servers, does that mean admins are totally off the hook for monitoring? Like, what if there's an outage or maintenance? Where do you, as the admin responsible for your users, go to get updates? Emails, texts, Atom feeds, that kind of thing.
Right. Even though Tableau manages the infrastructure, you are still responsible for knowing its status because it impacts your users directly.
Yeah.
You need to be informed. The place to go is Tableau Trust. That's the official portal.
Tableau Trust, okay.
Yeah. You can view the current status, see incident history, and importantly, you can subscribe to get updates. Email, SMS, RSS ATOM, feeds, whatever works best for you. It covers outages, maintenance windows, incident resolutions, all for Tableau Online and their other services. It's really about proactive communication with your users. You need to know what's going on.
Definitely. Can't just say, oh, Tableau handles it when users can't access their dashboards. You need to know why. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Licensing. Always fun, right?
Oh yeah, the licensing labyrinth.
Exactly. So let's try to clear up a couple of common scenarios. First one, an organization has a core-based license on Tableau Server. What kind of account lets people view dashboards embedded in, say, a company intranet page without needing to log into Tableau Server individually?
Okay, for that specific use case, anonymous viewing on embedded dashboards with core licensing, the answer is the guest user.
Guest user.
Right. The guest user account is specifically designed for this with core-based licenses. It allows people who don't have named accounts on your server to see specific views you've made available, typically embedded elsewhere. It's great for broad access, like public-facing dashboards or maybe company-wide announcements on an intranet. Viewers don't authenticate individually.
But that immediately brings up security questions, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Enabling the guest user means you need to be very careful about exactly which views are accessible and what data they contain. It's powerful, but you have to manage the permissions very tightly.
Good point. Okay, sticking with licensing, but drilling down a bit more into the server processes themselves, understanding which bits consume licenses and which don't is pretty key for resource planning and cost, right?
For sure. You need to know what drives your license count.
So out of this list, backgrounder, cache server, cluster controller, data engine, ask data, and application server, which of those processes are not licensed?
Okay, the ones that are not licensed are the cache server, the cluster controller, and the data engine.
Cache, cluster controller, data engine. Got it.
Yep. Think of those as the underlying engine components. They make the server work, manage coordination, handle query processing, caching, but they aren't directly tied to a user performing an action that requires a specific license type. The license processes are the ones that are more user-facing or perform actions directly related to license capabilities. So, Backgrounder handles things like extract refreshes and subscriptions, which often relate to creator or explorer actions.
Right.
Application Server handles the web interface and user sessions. And Ask Data is that natural language query feature, which is also a license capability.
So knowing that helps you figure out your server topology and capacity without necessarily blowing up your license costs.
Exactly. It helps optimize resources.
Okay, one last licensing question then. How do organizations actually track all this usage? Tableau provides a few tools, but which of the following is not primarily a tool for tracking and managing licensing and usage? Tableau Desktop Reporting, the Login-Based License Usage Report, Virtual Desktop Support, the REST API, or the Customer Portal?
The outlier there is the REST API.
The REST API. Okay, why?
Well, the REST API is incredibly powerful, don't get me wrong. It's for automation, integration, programmatically managing users, content, all sorts of things. You can pull data about usage via the API.
But it's not its main job for reporting on licenses.
Exactly. It's a developer tool, fundamentally. It's not designed as an out-of-the-box, click here for your license report kind of tool. Things like the login-based license usage report, the usage views built into Tableau Server itself, sometimes accessed via desktop, and the customer portal. Those are the tools specifically provided by Tableau for administrators to monitor license consumption and user activity directly.
That makes sense. API is for building stuff, the others are for reporting. Okay, let's shift gears again. Troubleshooting, because inevitably, things don't always run smoothly.
Never fails, right?
Nope. So here's a common error message a user might see in an email subscription. The view snapshot in this email could not be properly rendered. Lots of potential causes, but which of the following is not a plausible reason for that specific error?
Okay, the one that doesn't fit is the user's VW permissions capability has been set to deny.
Why not?
Because if the user didn't have VUW permissions on that dashboard or view, they wouldn't have been able to subscribe to it in the first place.
Ah, right. The subscription wouldn't even exist or send.
Precisely. The error message implies the subscription ran, the email sent, but the rendering of the image failed. That points towards other issues. More likely causes are things like the underlying data source connection failing when the snapshot was being generated, or maybe the backgrounder process, which actually renders these snapshots, timed out, or perhaps the credentials embedded in the data connection became invalid.
So the error message itself is a big clue. It's about rendering, not basic access.
Exactly. You always start by dissecting the error message itself.
Okay, so you've got an error, you're starting to diagnose. Often the next step is gathering logs, right? Especially if you need to escalate to Tableau support. What's that key TSM command, Tableau Services Manager command for grabbing a zip file of all the logs, and maybe including the repository data too?
The go-to command, every admin should know this one, is ts maintenance zip logs.
TSM maintenance zip logs.
Yep, super useful. It just bunkers all the Tableau server log files from across your cluster into a single zipped archive. Makes it much easier to analyze or send off. And crucially, if you add the IED flag, so TSM maintenance zip logs DOSINTANDERD, it will also include a snapshot dump of the internal PostgreSQL repository database.
Oh, wow. That's got all the metadata, right?
Everything. Users, groups, projects, workbook info, permissions. It's incredibly valuable for deep troubleshooting. So zip logs is your best friend when you need comprehensive diagnostics.
Definitely sounds like it. Okay, let's cover one more sort of foundational technical detail about server configuration. What's the file format used for a Tableau Server Bootstrap file?
That bootstrap file is in JSON format.
JSON. Okay. Why is that important to know?
Well, it might seem like a small detail, but that JSON file is critical when you're doing things like adding a new node to your Tableau server cluster.
Right, for multi-node setups.
Exactly. Or in a hopefully rare disaster recovery scenario. The bootstrap file contains essential configuration info and secrets needed for a new node to securely connect and join the existing cluster. So, knowing it's JSON helps if you ever need to, say, script parts of your deployment or understand the configuration files during advanced setup or recovery. It's part of the underlying architecture.
Good to know. Okay, finally, let's bring it back to the user experience. How admins can enable specific things to make life easier for users. Here's a common complaint. A user says they can't see the images in their subscription emails. The email arrives, but no picture. What permissions need to be set correctly for those images to actually show up?
Right, this trips people up sometimes. For a user to get those nice visual snapshots in their subscription emails, they need two specific permission capabilities. First, pretty obviously, they need the basic VUW permission to the dashboard or view itself. If they can't see it on the server, they can't subscribe or get snapshots.
Makes sense.
But the second one, the one that's often missed, is they also need the download image PDF permission capability set to allow.
Ah, download image PDF. Okay.
Yes,
So,
because it's that permission that actually grants the server process the right to generate the image or PDF file on behalf of that user
yeah.
and attach it to the email. So without both VW and download image PDF, the image rendering step will fail for that user's subscription, and they'll just get maybe the text part of the email, but no picture.
That's a perfect example of how a seemingly small permission setting can directly impact whether a feature actually works for the user.
Totally. It's often those little details and permissions that make the difference between a smooth experience and user frustration.
Okay, and speaking of subscriptions, one last practical admin task. How can an administrator actually subscribe another user to a specific view? Say you want your team lead to get a daily sales report email.
Yeah, that's a common need. An administrator, or actually anyone with the correct permissions on that content, can do it pretty easily. You just navigate to the view you want to subscribe someone to on Tableau Server, click the subscribe button, usually looks like a little email icon in the toolbar.
Okay.
And then in the subscription dialog box that pops up, there's an option to add other users. You just find the user or group you want to add, select them, configure the schedule and format, and click subscribe. That sets up the automated email subscription for them. It's a great way to push key insights out proactively.
Simple, but really effective for keeping people informed. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. And here's a final thought to leave you with. As data just keeps getting more and more central to everything organizations do, think about how understanding these kind of behind-the-scenes administrative details, it doesn't just keep the lights on. It fundamentally shapes how, and even if an organization can truly leverage the power of its information. Being a good admin, it's kind of like being the silent architect of informed decisions, making sure the right insights get to the right people securely and reliably.